Some nights start with a simple plan until they unravel into something unforgettable. A shared drink, a daring game, a fleeting touch. Then a moment that set my world ablaze. Aria's smirk held a challenge. Celeste's words carried a spark, and Ivy's gaze locked me in. Suddenly, I realized this wasn't just a quiet escape by the sea. I needed a break, a chance to step away from the grind of my city life as a marketing consultant. My days were a blur of deadlines and meetings, leaving little room for myself. So, I booked a solo retreat at a quaint coastal inn, picturing quiet mornings with coffee and the sound of waves, a chance to breathe. I craved solitude, a few days to reset, far from my usual routine. But that first evening, as I sipped a cocktail at the inn's seaside bar, a voice interrupted my thoughts. Escaping alone, I turned to find a girl with a playful grin. Aria, a travel writer with a knack for trouble in all the best ways. Beside her stood two friends, their eyes on me with a curiosity I hadn't expected. I hadn't planned on company, but something about them felt magnetic, impossible to resist. They introduced themselves over drinks, Aria with her effortless charm, Celeste, a laid-back artist with a sharp wit, and Ivy, a reserved architect with a piercing gaze that seemed to see right through me. The bar was cozy, with fairy lights strung along the wooden beams, the scent of salt air mixing with the tang of citrus from our drinks. Conversation flowed easily. Aria shared wild stories of her travels. Celeste teased with clever quips, and Ivy listened, her smirk knowing, like she could sense where the night might lead. I felt a warmth that wasn't just from the cocktail, a stirring I hadn't felt in years. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about work or tomorrow. I was caught in the moment, their attention pulling me in. They invited me to join them for a nightcap at their rented beach cottage nearby, just a short walk along the shore. I hesitated, my instinct to retreat to my room, battling the pull of their company. But the sound of the waves and the glint in Aria's eyes won me over. Just one drink, I told myself. Their cottage was charming. Open windows letting in the ocean breeze, lanterns casting a golden glow, a small fire pit crackling in the yard. We settled on the deck, the stars above us bright against the dark sky, the distant crash of the tide a steady rhythm. Celeste poured drinks, her fingers brushing mine as she handed me a glass, the brief contact sending a small thrill through me. Aria lounged beside me, her arm resting casually along the back of my chair, her presence warm and inviting. Ivy sat across from us, her gaze steady, studying me with an intensity that made my pulse quicken. We laughed and talked about art, adventures, the kind of dreams you don't usually share with strangers. But as the night deepened, the mood shifted, a subtle undercurrent weaving through our words. Celeste leaned closer, her voice low. "Let's make this interesting," she said, a playful glint in her eye. "A game of truth, no holding back." Aria raised an eyebrow, smirking. "Dangerous?" Celeste grinned. "Exactly." She turned to me. "What's the boldest thing you've ever done?" Aria shared a story about sneaking into a festival. Ivy admitted to a spontaneous trip across the continent, their stories drawing us closer, the tension building in the spaces between. When it was my turn, I hesitated, feeling their eyes on me. "I'm not sure I've done anything that bold," I admitted, sipping my drink. Aria's grin widened, her fingers brushing the back of my chair. "I think you've got it in you." Celeste leaned in, her breath warm against my ear. "Maybe tonight's the night to find out." A charged silence fell, the crackle of the fire pit the only sound. Aria's fingers traced the rim of her glass, her gaze flickering to mine, a quiet challenge in her eyes. Celeste leaned closer, her voice low, sending a shiver down my spine. Ivy's eyes never left me, dark with something unspoken, pulling me in. The energy between us was undeniable, drawing us closer. No more hesitation, just a single moment before everything shifted. Celeste was the first to move, her hand brushing mine as she took my glass and set it aside, her touch lingering, testing. "You've been catching our attention all night," she murmured, her voice smooth, teasing, her eyes searching mine. I didn't pull away. Aria shifted closer, her fingers gliding down my arm, in a slow, deliberate stroke, sending a ripple through me. "You're good at this," she mused, her voice low, drawing people in. Ivy watched, her smirk barely hidden, her patience charged with anticipation. "You like keeping them guessing," she said, her voice calm but heavy with intent. The tension thickened, a hum beneath my skin. I exhaled, a smile curving my lips. "Not anymore," I whispered. Aria's touch was the first to deepen, her hand resting lightly on my waist, her lips brushing my cheek in a slow, teasing gesture that set my pulse racing. Celeste moved closer behind me, her presence warm, her breath a soft exhale against my neck, her fingers grazing my wrist as she steadied me. A quiet sigh escaped me. I'd known attraction before, but not like this. Not this shared, electric pull. Ivy finally leaned in, her gaze locked on mine, her hand brushing my chin as she tilted my face toward her. Her lips met mine, steady, deliberate, a connection that sent a tremor through me. Aria's touch remained gentle, her fingers tracing my arm, while Celeste's hands rested at my sides, grounding me. The air buzzed with shared breaths, soft murmurs, their closeness wrapping around me like a wave. Their energies wove together. Aria's playful warmth, Celeste's teasing intensity, Ivy's quiet control, blending in a moment that left me breathless. Everything blurred, the stars, the waves, the ache of being so present, so alive. I gasped, my head tilting back as the tension built, a slow burn that quickened, deepened, until it crested in a rush, a wave of warmth that left me trembling, weightless, undone. Celeste's grip tightened briefly, a low sigh escaping her, while Aria's breath caught, a soft murmur against my ear as she melted into the moment too. For a long moment, we stayed there, tangled in the afterglow, the ocean a distant whisper. Aria let out a breathy laugh. "That was something." Ivy pressed a lingering kiss to my temple, her fingers tracing lazy patterns on my hand, and I could only smile, words lost in the haze. The rest of my retreat passed in a blur of sunlit mornings and stolen glances. There were no regrets, no second thoughts, just the lingering warmth of that night and the thrill of a secret we shared. On my last day, as I packed my bags, I caught myself smiling. This trip was meant to be an escape, but it became something far more, a reminder of what it felt like to truly live. As I drove back to the city, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't just a getaway. It was a memory I'd replay for years to come.
Have you ever had a getaway that turned into something unforgettable? Share in the comments below. If you love this story, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support helps this channel grow, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's next.